So, it seems you guys liked my Pizza Tower review, huh? Well, since the game just got a big content update, I figured it would be a good idea to give the game a second look, checking out what's been added since my initial review. Fair warning though, this review will have full game spoilers for the base game and both content updates. If you don't want any of the fun surprises ruined for you, I suggest you go play through the updates first and then come back to this video. That said, this video is going to assume that you're familiar with my original review, so if you haven't seen it, go watch that and then come back to this one. Since uploading that video, there have been two content updates for the game. The Halloween update, which released on October 23rd of last year, and the Noise update, which just released on March 11th. I'll go over the Halloween update first, since it was released first, and is much smaller in scope and new content. Before we dive in though, I want to thank everyone who made my original Pizza Tower video a big success. It really did wonders for my channel, which was still sitting around 1,500 subscribers before I uploaded it. So, if you enjoyed this video, do please like and comment and subscribe and all that. It really does make a difference. Anyway, on with the video. Just a heads up, I overlapped my recording for the Halloween update content with my second Noise playthrough for his clothing unlocks, so I'm going to be playing as him in all the footage, but the content itself is the same regardless of who you play as. The Halloween update is split into two halves, the first being the timed event with the hidden pumpkins in every level and a new level you can unlock once you find them all, and the second being new content that isn't exclusive to the timed event. The meat and potatoes of this update is definitely the timed event though, lasting from October 23rd to November 14th. If you missed it, don't worry, you can just change your computer's date before launching the game and all the Halloween exclusive stuff will still be there. That's how I got the footage for this video. During this event, alongside the new content is a bunch of visual changes to really make it feel like a Halloween celebration. Characters will be dressed up in Halloween costumes in the lobby, sometimes with a little baby-ass jump scare popping up. It's really cute and charming, and some of those costumes they've got on are just hilarious. Additionally, there's a new track replacing the pause menu theme to make it sound more in-season. It's pretty cool. Most of what you're going to be doing in this update though is finding the hidden pumpkins. Each one of the 20 main levels has a pumpkin hidden somewhere inside it, usually off in a corner somewhere near the main path. To help you find them, the pumpkins will make a sound based off of the motif from Wasteyard, which gets louder as you get closer to it, on top of the pumpkin itself fading in as you approach it. They're really not all that difficult to find, and if you just want to go back to a completed file and check out the Halloween stuff, you can exit the level as soon as you grab the pumpkin and it'll still count, so it's a very streamlined quest. Personally, I'd rather include this into a full game run if I'm replaying the game, but the fact that you can just exit level once you've found the pumpkin in it is a nice quality of life thing that I really appreciate, especially back when the update first came out. Once you've collected the 20 pumpkins from each of the main levels, you unlock the bonus level Tricky Treat. Here, there are 10 more pumpkins to find, with some of them being hidden in a side path, denoted by a blue arrow, and the rest being along the main path, which have a green arrow. The colors of these arrows do look a bit similar to me, so I imagine that colorblind people might have a hard time telling the difference here, so maybe they could have gone with some better colors here. The level itself is pretty neat though. You have two main goals: find all 10 pumpkins, making for a total of 30 collected across the entire game, and beat the level with all 10 pumpkins in one run, which is essentially the P-rank equivalent of this stage. Both of those count as a chef task and give you a Steam achievement, which is pretty cool. This isn't really a full level though, as there are no top-ins, no secrets, no treasure, no escape sequence, just pumpkins. What makes this level interesting then is the John Ghost returning from Wasteyard's escape sequence, now wearing this pumpkin costume, hunting you down the entire time. Unlike in Wasteyard though, getting caught by John Ghost doesn't just restart the room you're in, it ends the level entirely, meaning you have to go through the whole thing without getting caught at all. That probably doesn't sound too bad, as he isn't all that difficult to avoid in Wasteyard, but most of the rooms in that level are pretty straightforward, with a couple exceptions. Here, every room is windy and kinda difficult to navigate, giving him ample time to catch up to you, especially when you're turning around for the bonus paths. It's not super hard, but it is still a decent challenge that I quite enjoyed. That said, I do still wish it had more traditional level elements. It's a pretty short level, even with all the side paths, so it only takes me a few tries to remember where everything is and get a clean run through it. Overall, pretty fun additions to the game, but nothing mind-blowing. That's not all this update added though, as there are a number of changes and additions outside of the timed Halloween event. One of the small additions I really appreciate is a Chef Tasks tab in the pause menu that you can check at any time to see what the achievements for that level are and whether or not you've already gotten them. It's nice to check as a reminder of the stuff I need to route into my run on a replay, and I'm sure it's way more convenient for first-time players than running to the Chef Task call after every level. The timer has been made more accurate and given more functionality, like being able to see both your full save timer and level timer simultaneously. A few levels have been rebalanced to be slightly easier to P-rank, such as Gnome Forest having rat fairies added to this infamously long hallway with mushrooms placed in such a way that were very awkward to navigate around, killing lots of P-rank runs. Or this ramp getting destroyed during the escape sequence of Pizzascape. I remember this being a huge pain in the ass on my first playthrough. Fear not, these P-ranks are still very much a challenge to obtain, it's just a few small instances of things feeling a bit unfair or awkward that have been smoothed over, and I can get behind that. There are more improvements here, but they're all mostly small or technical stuff that I don't have much to say about. We also get a second brand new level with this update, though calling it brand new is maybe a little bit inaccurate. Once you've found every secret in the game, you unlock a sound test, but now there's a new level portal in the sound test room for the new level, Secrets of the World. This level takes all of the game's 57 secrets and mashes them all together with a couple of twists. First, each room has a time limit on it, and if you run out of time, you fail the level entirely. The time limits are pretty generous, so you really only need to worry about it on a couple of secrets or if you mess something up. The other big twist is that the order you play the secrets in is completely randomized every time you play the level. This forces you to be familiar enough with the secrets and the control scheme that you can react on the fly to whatever the game throws at you, rather than relying on rote memorization like you might for the main levels, especially if you're going for a P rank. Speaking of which, it's not really all that hard here, so long as you can beat the level normally without ever timing out. Most secrets have tons of stuff in them to keep your combo up to begin with, so there are very few situations where you'd be at risk of dropping the combo unless you make a mistake like falling into a pit or something, at which point you're likely to run out of time anyway. There's also no escape sequence or lap 2 or anything like that, but considering this level's marathon length, I'm okay with that. It's a really fun challenge and one of my favorite parts of the game now. Despite being fairly small in scope, the Halloween update managed to pack a lot of charming and creative stuff, fun new content, and solid quality of life improvements into the game all at once. It was a lot more than what I was expecting out of a small event update, and made the game just that little bit better. The noise update is much bigger though, bringing in a new playable character, tons of new clothes to unlock, a bunch of new sprite work and music, and a secret new mode that you can unlock. So let's not waste any more time and dive into it. So, in the Noises campaign, you play as Theodore Noise, how unfortunate, and you're running through the tower to destroy it for some reason. It's not really clear what Noise's motivations are here, or when this takes place. In Shovel Knight, they made it very clear when each of the extra campaigns took place, but here, it doesn't really make sense no matter where you try to place it. It can't be after Peppino's campaign, because he already destroyed the tower, so there wouldn't be anything to run through as Noise, but by the same logic, it couldn't be before Peppino's campaign, because then the Noise would have already destroyed the tower, and then Peppino wouldn't have a tower to run through. Really, Pizza Tower never put too much stock into the story anyway, and the real answer is probably just that the Noise is just an extra playable character, and his campaign isn't canon, but even then, canon doesn't really matter anyway, so who cares? As a character, though, the Noise is absolutely brimming with personality, and that's in large part due to the incredibly expressive sprite work. While Peppino's sprites accentuated his anxious demeanor, the Noise is portrayed as this fucked up little gremlin dude. He's almost always got a big smile on his face, but when he doesn't, he looks like this. You really get the sense this guy just does not give a fuck about anything. No matter the risk to his life right in front of his face, he will blast away anything in his way, and he enjoys it. It's a bit of a tropey personality, but it's one that I enjoy, especially when it fits the exaggerated cartoon-like art style this game has. The Noise will grow massive teeth and claws with bloodshot red eyes when attacking, and then immediately go back to hopping around on his skateboard, happy-go-lucky as can be. He holds the taxi drivers in Pig City at gunpoint, and takes a smoke break when you idle around too long. This guy is just hilarious. He even puts a bunch of stickers of himself on top of the faces of other characters during the title cards before each level, and there are a ton of these. You actually get to see all of them alongside their artists in the credits of this mode, which is pretty cool. They also do a better job of differentiating his different states using more distinct sprites than they did with Peppino. For example, when you reach Mach 4, the Noise's body turns into a rocket, and when you dive downwards, he turns into a drilling tornado shape. It's not like this was much of a problem for Peppino, but the Noise's sprite work is much clearer, while also having a lot of charm and personality. There's also a few new characters that show up from time to time. Noisette, while not exactly new, has a more prominent role, replacing Mr. Stick in the hub world and showing up during the escape sequences, alongside whatever this thing is. They're called Noisies, apparently. I love how the Noise just kinda has his own crew and he doesn't care about anyone else. Even during the last level of the game, they accentuate this, where Peppino grabbed all the friends he met during his adventure, the Noise kicks them all away, grabbing his 2 friends and a bucket and getting the hell out. It's pretty funny. Of course, the Noise also has its own unique animations for your ranking after a level and for full game clear rankings. The end of level rankings are really funny, like a B rank is considered bad and an A rank is just acceptable. I especially love the D rank one, where the Noise is so mad at your terrible performance of the game that he threatens your life. They really did an excellent job in giving the Noise a really strong personality through visuals alone, which is no surprise considering the base game's exaggerated art style, but still manages to impress me regardless. This update also brings with it a few new songs, including new pieces for John Gutter, the Crumbling Tower Pizza, the Escape and Lap 2, the final boss, the new Floor 3 boss, and the credits. There's a lot more new music in this update than I was expecting. Personally, I like the Noise's John Gutter theme way more than the original, which was actually present in the game's files all the way back when it came out, but went unused. It's super funky and fun to listen to, even if it's a bit short. Perfect for John Gutter, though, being the shortest stage in the game. The Noise's Lap 2 theme is one of my favorite songs in the entire game, though. These synth chords sound really cool, and use of samples in the song is absolutely ridiculous, even by Pizza Tower standards. Like, I could be mishearing it, but I'm like 95% sure the song samples ass and titties. Amazing stuff all around here. Okay, final spoiler warning before we get into the gameplay stuff here. If you don't want any spoilers for the Noise update, now is your last chance to pause the video until you've played it for yourself. Alright? Okay, moving on. Gameplay-wise, the Noise campaign follows in the footsteps of Plague of Shadows, at least in terms of structure. The level design is completely unchanged from the base game, but the Noise's control scheme is completely different from Peppino's. You can still grab and throw, ground pound, and uppercut, but everything else has been changed. When running into a wall, instead of running up the wall, you now automatically bounce off of it, kind of like Gustavo and Brick's wall jump, but much faster. Bouncing off of a wall will then put you in this spinning state, which has an active hitbox that can kill enemies, but slows you down a little bit. To get back up to speed, you can land on the ground and instantly gain Mach 3 running speed. Additionally, you could spin left or right out of this state to land a bit quicker or bounce off of the wall again, though repeatedly wall bouncing comes with diminishing returns. Eventually, you won't get any additional height from it at all. To pick up the slack, the Noise has several other vertical mobility options. For one, the Noise can perform the Shine Spark-like move that Peppino has without building up speed. Even from a complete standstill, just press the button and you'll go flying. Of course, that only works from the ground though. In midair, you could perform an uppercut, which has a significantly higher reach than Peppino's, but just like Peppino's uppercut, it leaves you inactionable until you reach the ground, so that still might not be enough in some cases. That's where the Slammer comes in. This essentially replaces Peppino's dive cancel ground pound, letting you break metal blocks from above regardless of height. It's a bit finicky though, since getting it to activate can be a little bit inconsistent. Sometimes you just end up jumping instead. What's special about this move is that it can be cancelled with a spin, just like the wall bounce animation, so you can combo it into a drill, a wall bounce, or even another slam. Yes, that means you can technically fly infinitely upwards with this move. That sounds pretty overpowered, but it's something you kinda have to figure out by yourself, which I didn't until after my full 101% playthrough for this video, and even then you aren't taught how to use the Slammer move until Gnome Forest, halfway through the game, and the button combo for it is kind of obscure, being up plus jump while running. Oh, and instead of playing as Gustavo and Brick, you just play as another Noise, which is pretty silly. The Noise really excels in vertical movement, and nowhere is that more apparent than the drill move. This essentially replaces Peppino's dive move. It can't be cancelled into a ground pound or anything, but you have much finer control over it rather than being locked into one direction like the dive. You can turn around and even keep holding down to continue drilling while on the ground, which is useful for taking out enemies. When you let go of the down button and land on the ground, you'll do a small bounce back up, which puts you in that same spinning animation that the wall bounce puts you in, meaning you'll also automatically transfer into Mach 3 run when you land again. This means that all you need to reach Mach 3 is a little bit of space to get a small run and jump in. The Noise has a lot of potential with his moveset, giving you speed and height way easier than with Peppino, but his playstyle is significantly more input heavy. The Noise's APM, or actions per minute, is way higher than Peppino's, and you're expected to be very attentive to keep up the pace. Considering the small details that make the Noise harder to get used to for someone who's already 101% of the game 3 times like me, the learning curve felt really challenging and fun, like I was playing the game for the first time again, and that's really impressive. While I compared the structure of this campaign to Plague of Shadows earlier, in terms of controls, the Noise feels a lot more like King Knight, specializing in vertical movement with wall bounces and whatnot, but at a much faster pace since this is Pizza Tower we're talking about. If the campaign were identical to Peppino's but with a different control scheme, that would be neat, but a little underwhelming. So they opted to change almost every transformation slightly as well. Some of them are better, some of them are worse, and some are just different, but regardless, I really appreciate the effort they went through to make this campaign feel as different as possible without actually having to change the level design. Most of them are pretty small changes, like the Knight transformation now bouncing off of walls instead of bonking into them, or the Rocket transformation also bouncing off of walls instead of bonking into them. This one I actually really like. It lets you approach some sections in slightly different ways if you're trying to speedrun them or something. Firemouth is a little floatier with a slower acceleration, greater top running speed, and higher jump, so it's mostly the same but just a little bit different. Of the ones with more notable differences though, I really like the Ghost, Mort, and Mini Noise transformations. Ghost Noise has a dash move that you can activate once you've picked up at least one Ghost Pepper, and you'll need to use that to kill enemies instead of just kind of floating into them. It makes the Ghost feel a lot more active and fun than it was for Peppino, where you just press the D-pad toward where you want to go and that was it. The Noise will throw Mort the Chicken like a boomerang, auto-targeting the nearest enemy or Mort hook in that direction, which is really convenient, but the Noise's walk speed is slowed down while throwing Mort, so it's a bit of a trade-off. Mini Noise is my favorite new transformation though, replacing the boxed transformation from Peppino's run of Peppybot Factory. Instead of flapping upwards with diminishing returns, you can freely hover by holding the A button, while the attack works pretty much the same. It feels way better to control than boxed did, plus he just looks really cute. Some of the transformations have been changed for the worse though, like the barrel in Crust Cove. As Peppino, when you slide up a wall from a slope, you would always automatically land facing the opposite direction, requiring you to stop and turn around, or wait until you hit a wall to turn around automatically. As the Noise, rolling up a slope will keep you going in that direction, which sounds fine, but when you combine that with the much higher top speed, it feels downright uncontrollable at times. I had to stop on each platform to get through this last barrel section because the higher speed would send me flying into a pit every time. It's still possible to do all of the barrel sections fluidly, it just requires much more precise timing now, and I found that kind of annoying. My least favorite was the Cheese Rat transformation. As Peppino, you had to repeatedly jump back and forth between walls to climb quickly in this transformation, but you could still rely on jumping against a single wall to get up if you needed to. As the Noise, the rat jumps much further away from the wall, making these single wall jumps way harder. I kept losing P-rank runs at the very end of Oh Shit because I couldn't get this stupid rat to just jump up a platform. It felt so awkward and janky. And then I realized you can just hold up or down and climb the wall. The game never tells you this either, I just had to figure it out on my own. Normally when you grab a transformation for the first time, it shows you some text at the bottom of the screen to tell you how to control it, and every transformation has pretty simple controls, so that worked fine enough. But here, it just doesn't tell you that you can climb walls with the D-pad, and knowing that would have saved a lot of time having to restart this level over and over for the P-rank. The minor transformations are mostly identical to Peppino's, like the ball or the weenie mount, which is fine by me. I like that they changed up the playstyle of the transformations to make things more interesting, but I do wish some of the jank was ironed out for the more unintuitive ones like the barrel and the cheese rat. Some levels have unique gimmicks to them in the Noise's playthrough though, like these pig cops that would slow down Peppino until he charged up a Mach 3 run to hit them with. The Noise just runs straight through them, throwing their bodies around and destroying anything in his path with them. Or the water slides in Oh Shit that would send Peppino flying backwards. The Noise just surfs over them with a skateboard. It's mostly small stuff like that. The Noise makes a total mockery of level elements that previously gave Peppino trouble, and it's pretty funny. Some of the changes are more pronounced though, like another Noise replacing Gustavo and Brick in Gnome Forest and the Pig City, the Noise getting a Gatling gun instead of a shotgun in Don't Make a Sound in War, and then there's Freezerator. At the start of the level, the Noise drinks some yellow liquid, which allows him to fly around and break through ice blocks just like the spicy pepper pizza transformation, just without the invincibility. This actually lets you play the level out of order, and I had a ton of fun just exploring the different rooms in an unconventional path, and when it came time for my second run of the game, I just skipped most of the level by breaking these ice blocks early and entering this room from above, which felt really cool. The biggest change in this playthrough is in the bosses, as the noise uses bombs as a projectile against them rather than smacking them with a grab attack. Being able to attack these bosses with a projectile that can damn near travel across the entire screen makes them way easier. Vigilante in particular gets absolutely destroyed if you time your bombs just right, and then when you beat him, the noise just shoots him before the draw sign even has a chance to come up, which made me laugh my ass off the first time I saw it. If you ignored my spoiler warnings earlier, you may be wondering who replaces the noise as the Floor 3 boss, and that would be this fellow, the Noise. Unfortunately, he's just a reskin of the Noise boss fight, but he drops rocks instead of bombs, which basically just act the same as the Noise's bombs anyway. It is fitting though, since Doise is based on a fan-made OC, alongside Pedito, who shows up at the end of his boss fight to kill Doise, and he stays dead too. If you try to replay the boss fight, you just stare at his corpse for a few seconds, and then it ends, giving you a free P rank. I wish I knew that before I spent all the time getting a real P rank on this fight, but oh well. Even in the final boss, Pizza Head just throws Doise's corpse up into the arena, and it just kinda sits there for a few seconds until fake Pepino shows up. You even unlock a new pair of clothes by breakdancing on his corpse during this fight, which is hilarious. Speaking of which, I also want to talk about the Noise's unlockable clothing. Since he doesn't get any new levels or new content, and all the chef tasks even stay the same, they went absolutely bonkers with these clothing requirements. The base game had some crazy ones in there, like the war camo or the drawn shirt, but the Noises are on a whole new level. Some are simpler, like getting a combo of 50 to make the noise come out of the TV at the top right, killing 4 enemies with 1 tornado attack, or flying by using the slammer spin combo over and over. Some of them are kinda strange though, like beating John Gutter with a D rank, which would be hard enough on its own, but then they make you do it in under 4 minutes, which is actually pretty stressful. Then one of them requires you to get a P rank and taunt 10 times in a row on top of the exit gate without losing your combo. I actually had to go out of my way to leave an enemy here at the start of John Gutter to give myself enough time to get all the taunts in. One of my favorites was the Forest Goblin clothing though, which requires you to beat Gnome Forest without killing any noise goblins. These guys will actually just smile and wave at you in the level rather than trying to shoot you, which is super cute, but actually trying to avoid them is pretty hard. I had a ton of fun trying to figure out how to approach each room so I didn't accidentally kill one and have to start over. A lot of the Noise's moves have active hitboxes, so it can be really easy to kill an enemy by accident if you're not careful here, and I chose to walk through almost the entire level to make it easier. Then there are the grindy ones. Each boss has a clothing you can unlock for beating it without missing a single bomb, and these were actually pretty tough. Oregano Desert and Deep Dish 9 have special challenges to get kicked by every cow and ride every olive respectively, which ended up being pretty interesting to go for, even if a bit tedious. But Granny Kisses was the most annoying one, requiring you to talk to every single pizza granny in the game. Problem is, and I only realized this when researching this to try and get this clothing, of the 4 to 5 spawn locations they have on each floor, they pick a random spot every time you load the hub. This meant that for each hub, I had to walk in and out of rooms, or even levels entirely, to efficiently reload the hub world and check for the pizza grannies in nearby spawn locations, which was just a pain in the ass. The racer pattern requires you to beat the game in under the time it took to beat the game on your corresponding Pepino file above you on the file select, which I would have gotten the first time through if I had played on file 3 instead of file 1, but I didn't, so I had to replay the entire game just for this one. I would have had to replay all the levels to get the pumpkins to show off the Halloween content anyway though, so I decided to overlap those with my second playthrough for this clothing unlock. If one replay wasn't enough, the last and hardest clothing I had to unlock was to see Pizza Tower Guy in every single level. He's an NPC that shows up in certain positions of every level if you make it to him within 1 minute, which, depending on the level, is either really easy or really hard. On top of that, the wiki claims you need to beat the level after seeing him in order for it to count for the clothing unlock, but in my last level, Crumbling Tower of Pizza, I got the unlock to proc right when I saw him and not when I finished the level, so this might not be true, I'm not really sure. While a couple of them were a little grindy, I had a really fun time doing all these weird challenges to unlock all the clothing patterns, even if it meant essentially 2 more playthroughs of the entire game right after my 101% run. I was happy to keep playing though, because I was just having so much fun. There's still one more surprise in store for you though. In the tower exterior, just before the final boss, jumping off the left will land you inside Peppino's house, full of cute little details like his war medals hung up on the wall and a gun inside a break-in-case of emergency case. Exiting this area will unlock swap mode, where you can play either in single player, swapping between Noise and Peppino at any time by pressing taunt and down at the same time, or in co-op, complete with a competitive aspect where whoever collects the most points wins. This is super cool. Even just in single player, it felt mind-blowing to just switch between the two on the fly like that. It also made me realize that Peppino felt kinda weird to go back to after 15 straight hours of Noise gaming. I didn't feel like doing a fourth playthrough for this video and decided to stop after just messing around with swap mode for a bit, but I can confidently say that it's a really great addition. I'd love to give the co-op a try someday. And there we have it, the Halloween and Noise updates for Pizza Tower. I know I didn't go over every little detail here, but I didn't want to spoil every single surprise or joke in the game, and I think this video is long enough as is. These are both really great updates that add a ton of fantastic new content to the game, and all of it is completely free. The Halloween update, as small as it was, felt like a very strong addition to the game, with a cool timed event, plenty of fixes and balancing changes, and 2 new levels, all of which I really enjoyed. The Noise update was the most fun thing they've added to the game post-launch, though. While I do wish the Noise got unique chef tasks or a new level to better suit his moveset, I still really enjoyed playing as him, and any excuse to 101% this game again is fine by me. The fantastic sprite work and music really helped to solidify the Noise's character as an evil, fucked up little guy that hides an endless amount of violence behind that big goofy smile. This playthrough had me laughing out loud multiple times over silly sprites or funny moments. I really can't stress enough just how good of a job they did with the visuals alone. On top of that, the Noise's unique control scheme adds a new layer of depth to a game with an already very high skill ceiling, which made going for P ranks as the Noise even more satisfying than before. And they went out of their way to change up the transformations to keep things feeling fresh. They also added a bunch of new clothing patterns to unlock with some really interesting requirements for a lot of them that made for a really fun second and sort of third playthrough. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with both of these updates, and I look forward to whatever it is this team puts out next. If there are any more updates for Pizza Tower, I'm not sure if I'll keep making videos for them, but I guess we'll just have to see as time goes on. For the first year of the game's life though, I've been consistently coming back to replay it every few months, and after over 100 hours, it still hasn't gotten old to me. These updates help to keep its replayability high and further cement Pizza Tower as one of my all-time favorite games. Thanks for watching! If you enjoyed the video, do make sure to leave a like and a comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Those all help out a ton with getting the video spread around more. My original Pizza Tower video did really well. It was even enough to get me back into the YouTube partner program so I can start making a bit of money off of these videos. I really appreciate you guys for all the support. If you want to support me more directly though, you can donate to my Patreon, link in the description. Special thanks to my current patrons here on the screen. Next time we'll be diving back into the Pac-Man Marathon, starting with a Version Versus episode on Pack Attack, so stay tuned for that. See you next time.